Hello, everybody. Hello, this is SaugaTalks and Coruzant Technologies on Friday afternoon. Hello, I'm Irene, and with me here, my fabulous co-host, Brian Thomas. We speak weekly at this time, 1 p.m. Eastern, with fantastic people in tech. They educate us, they entertain us. We're just having great time here on Friday afternoon, so please join us. We're live on LinkedIn through Coruzant Technologies. We're live on YouTube, we're live on Facebook, Twitch. If anywhere else we're not live, let us know. But we're really happy to invite our audience to join us, and replays will be available. So without further ado, Brian, how was your week?
Week was fantastic. And I want to bring something up, Irene. It's good for the guests, the readers, the listeners, the viewers, and I know Avrohom knows this as well, but the more you're out on camera, the more opportunities to be on camera show up. So today I literally was pitched two things to be on the camera for some other series. So it's exciting. I just love this stuff. And Avrohom, if you didn't know, I've interviewed about 300 guests or more across the world, 30 countries, and including tons of execs and CEOs out of Silicon Valley. So I love this stuff. This is the stuff I eat up all day. So I wanted to share that good news as things are happening. And like I said, SaugaTalks is growing.
We are innovating, absolutely. So today we're going to talk about data, and our esteemed guest of the hour is Avrohom Gottheil. How are you, Avrohom, this Friday?
Irene, I'm doing well. Thank you so much for the introduction, and it's truly an honor to be back here again. I'm so excited to see how you've grown, how the show has grown. You've basically cloned yourself. Now there's two of you. Last time we talked, it was just Irene and I, and now Brian's here. And, I just wanted to just touch upon that point that Brian mentioned about coming on video and not being shy on video, because that's exactly how I started. And by the way, don't think that you need to be polished to start, because when I started, if you could find some of those older videos that still float around on YouTube, I was nothing like I am today. I was inexperienced, but this was something I knew I wanted to do. It was, it's the way of the future. I mean, everybody's doing it, and you've got to get with the program. So I did, and here I am today. And to Brian's point, Irene, you dragged me kicking and screaming. I had a busy week, and you said, no, you're doing this, and here I am.
Avrohom, we're so thankful, because frankly, what we do around here, we just do that. We poke busy people, okay? And those busy people are typically so generous at heart that they do dedicate some time to us in their busy week. So Avrohom, we're very grateful. And the reason we dragged you to this show today, and you look fabulous, by the way, on camera and off, I'm sure, because you're a public speaker, Avrohom, right? You're an influencer. You are much needed expert out there. I watch you. I know topics you talk about, IoT, security, you name it, right? So today we're going to tie it all together, because I'm interested in data. You wrote fantastic article not long ago, right, on data overload. Can we please start with how we all feel as people, and maybe how some organizations feel this day?
Sure, and thank you, by the way, for the kind words about the article I wrote. So the article was really referring to a study that was commissioned by Dell Technologies, and the study was conducted by Forrester. And the article talks about, we live in a day and age of data ubiquity. There's data everywhere. Everybody's capturing data. Everybody's talking about data, right? So we've got so much data around us. And in fact, Forbes stated that 90% of data was created in the past 2 years. And I think that quote was from 2 years ago. So you can imagine how that's grown. I talked about the famous saying. We've all heard that famous saying, data is the new oil. If you have data, you're in, you've got it made. But here's the thing. Here's what the study actually uncovered, is that 70% of businesses are gathering data faster than they can use it. Just think about that. They're gathering all this data. 66% of businesses say they constantly need more data than their current capabilities provide. So, we're collecting these data, and we're collecting all this data. We don't know what to do with it. We're so overwhelmed, and we think, we're not making progress because we don't have enough data. Let's get more data. But we can't use this data because we don't know what to do with it. And this is what this study calls the data paradox. We need data. We have data. We're not using the data. We think we need more data. So this is what I call the information overload.
Absolutely. It's interesting, Avrohom. We've talked to many guests on the show, and this always gets back to, and Irene, this, we've talked to other technologists and CEOs and so forth, but it always gets back to a particular topic that we're talking about with the guests. But we've talked for years about petabytes, but now it's zettabytes. And because computing is moving to the edge, right, with IoT, you've got all these data points collecting this information. And you're right, it's information overload, but we need to start leveraging the machines, which we are today, to start to glean the valuable gold out of this data so we can start to use it. But you're right, Avrohom, it's information overload. And we've got to get a grip on it because it's only growing exponentially by the day.
Yeah, and I actually heard zettabytes being mentioned this week. I was at the IBM Think event, and they were talking about data, and just you can't even fathom how much is a zettabyte. And look it up. There are lots of zeros. That's all I know. So what do we do, right? To your point, Brian, with IoT and edge computing, everything's collecting data. I mean, our lampposts are collecting data about us. Our thermostats are collecting data about us. And what can people do? How can we leverage that data to actually, become useful? So here's the thing, Irene, you remember our last conversation, I talked about analytics and, being able to use AI to creatively make this data work for you. And it's really that and more than that. Okay. So the study talks about the holy grail, what companies should strive for, which is called becoming a data champion. And what a data champion basically is an organization that has hit that right balance between leveraging the right technology. So it could be AI, could be the right storage technology, hybrid cloud environment, all the right infrastructure, everything is important. So we've got the right technology as well as the right staff that has the skills to leverage this data, right? Just because you have technology doesn't mean you can do anything with it. So you need the technology, you need the staff, and then most important of all, you need the culture. You need to have a culture to look for patterns, to store data the right way, to basically utilize everything you've got in order to get the most out of your data. And unfortunately, today, only 13% of businesses that were surveyed, out of, I think it was like over 1,600 businesses, have reached that data championship state. So, there's a lot of homework we need to do as a community, as an industry, in order to be able to actually function properly. And why is that important? It's really very simple, because there are 13% of businesses that are doing it. So if you're not doing it, your competition is doing that. And that should be a good motivator for you to get out there and start using your data.
Exactly, Avrohom. And when we're thinking of data, right, we're thinking about how to leverage it properly. Okay, and you point out about driving business decisions based on that data, and that's where most businesses really struggle. because they do want to get ahead of competition. They want to create new revenue streams, but do they really know how efficient or effective they are with their data? Because we did mention few challenges right early in the conversation. So what are the barriers, you think?
Yeah, so one barrier, and this one I'm sure everyone can appreciate, is a data silo. Especially in mergers and acquisitions nowadays, companies just eat up other companies, and every company has a way of doing things. We've always collected data in a certain way. We have our own, legacy storage systems, and this is how we collect this data, and the IoT data that we collect is strictly for whatever application the IoT has. We talk about personalization of the customer experience, and that's a very a forward or future focused topic. The world is going towards personalization. So when you think about IoT, one example that I gave in my article was a connected thermostat. And thermostats are used to, you control your heat, your air conditioning, and it's great. You have, your app, you go on your phone and you could control your thermostat remotely to turn on your air conditioner so that when you get home, you're not coming into an oven and so on. But, that's very narrow-minded. It's great to give people personalization, but, there's so much more you can do than just personalization. So let's think about it. And I'll share with you a personal example, and then kind of take that into the connected thermostat example. So I have a son that's away in school, and I was talking to him last year around this time of year. It was late spring and the weather was starting to get warm. And I asked him, how are things in the dorm? Things are great. Yeah. And then I asked him, how is the air conditioning in the dorm? Because I know teenagers just love jacking up that air conditioner. And he goes, oh my gosh, it's so freezing. I can't sleep at night. And I kind of knew, he was going there. So, we kind of discussed what kind of warm stuff to get him, warm apparel and stuff like that. So we kind of had to do winter shopping in the spring, right? So let's take that to IoT and data analytics. So we have a connected thermostat. And Irene, do you like hot or cold?
I'm on the colder side, so I can put in the extra layer, but yeah.
Well, okay. And what about you, Brian?
I've lived in all kinds of places, so I'm kind of in the middle. I don't like it too cold. I don't like it too hot. So
awesome. And I'm the opposite extreme. I like it hot. So imagine the three of us are roommates.
Ooh, that will be fun. Fun.
So Brian comes home first and sets the thermostat at a nice 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay. Irene comes home next. Brian is out doing something and goes, my gosh, it's hot, 62. She goes out, does something. I come home, go, oh my goodness, what is this, winter? And I jack it up to 80, right? So Google is keeping track of this. So let's say you got I picked on the Google Nest thermostat. They're keeping track of this, and they know what I like. They know what Irene likes. They know what Brian likes. And so first of all, it's able to deliver that personalized experience. So it sees, okay, Irene is going on a business trip. Brian's going to, visit some relatives. I'm home alone. It's going to keep the thermostat where I like it, right? But let's take this one step further, because Irene, you hit upon a key term. You said the words creating a new revenue stream. Right, because ultimately that's where it's at. You don't want to leave money on the table. You already have these analytics. Why not use it to actually further your business, and not just further your business, but actually deliver some value to your clients that they want? So we've got these three personalities, and the AI knows exactly what everybody's preferences preferences are. So we're having a heat wave. It's 105 degrees outside. What kind of ads will each one of us see on our phones, on our Facebook pages, when that weather forecast is for 105 degrees? I might see an ad for, a fur coat. Irene, you'll see an ad for iced tea. And, Brian, you'll see an ad for sweatshirts. Even though it's kind of, reversely intuitive like that. But that's the whole point, because I'll be thinking about how cold it is because I'll be fighting with Irene over that thermostat. So it knows to keep me warm. It knows what everybody's preferences are. And the ads that they show are not just invasive or intrusive ads that we don't want to see. These are things we actually want and we want to buy and we are interested in. And this is the kind of value that businesses can tap into when they leverage their data correctly.
You're absolutely right. It's funny, if I could bring up a small example as well. This true story happened to me. So I was interviewing, I'll keep names off the show, but I was interviewing a CEO of a big company on my podcast. Never went to his website or their website. And so anyway, done with the podcast. So later that, maybe it was a day or two later, but on my tablet, I was, looking at something, and his company came up with ads with his company. And I've never been to his website. And it seemed like everywhere I went where there were ads, whether I was on a news channel on the browser on my PC or my tablet or whatever, I was like, oh my gosh, what's going on? But that's exactly it. Is, of course, I've got Alexa in my room here and everything just gathering information. It's a double-edged sword though, and we could go down that rabbit hole, but not today. But just an example, I wanted to, just kind of share the same sentiment, Avrohom. It's kind of scary in a way, but it is convenient. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. And it's getting a lot better now with AI, where the ads that we see are starting to, and I'm saying starting because we've got a long way to go, but they're starting to become relevant and things that we're actually interested in. And that serves everybody, everybody benefits because of it.
Exactly, and in a way that how company leveraging that, because we're all here convinced, right? This is the future, it's already present. But Avrohom, you'll be pretty annoyed when they think that you will be interested in buying every fur coat in this universe once you search for one thing for warm hoodie, right?
Yeah.
At some point, right, company will have to adjust their own, policy and their own, marketing strategies. What do you think?
Well, it's really about leveraging the data to make money, to create revenue. And if businesses are spending money on their AI technology, on gathering that data and showing us irrelevant ads, it doesn't get them anywhere. So, just showing the ads, to get clicks, can only take them so far. But if they really want to make money, if they really want to bring in some real revenue, they're going to have to deliver value. And that's really what it's about. We are in a value-driven society. This is the paradigm of the 21st century. So they're going to have to get much better at that. And this is really the focus of that study that Dell commissioned from Forrester, and that is, there's a graph that shows, the 4 different quadrants, and, that data champion is at the top right. And that's really where you need to focus, because if you have that right combination of technology, skill and culture, then you will be making those, same conclusions and analysis that you, Irene, just mentioned. And that is, let's not waste our resources on irrelevant ads that nobody's going to look at. People don't want it. They're blocking it and doing all those things. And let's focus on the things that people actually want.
Yeah, there's been a huge shift in just the way Let's take Google Ads, for example. There's been a huge shift in the last recent years actually, of how, your CPM rate, right? Your clicks, things are changing based on, because the people that are paying for these ads are not getting the results they want. And so they're leveraging some of this data, as we go back to, and some of the machine learning to dial that in and to actually provide value to the society that's demanding it.
And there's more to leveraging data than just making money. I'll give you an example about how it saves lives as well. So data really has applications everywhere. So there's a company in Germany. So I have a relationship with their technology partner, but I don't have a relationship with the company themselves. So I can't really give out names, but this company has a warehouse in a, let's just say, more developing nation whose safety standards are a little bit more loose. And, they have a warehouse with forklifts, and, forklifts are flying all over back and forth, and people are coming and going, and they're lifting boxes, and accidents happen sometimes, unfortunately. Well, it's one thing to analyze accidents. You look at the video feed and you kind of figure out, what did this operator do, and try to prevent that. But, that's like closing the barn door after the horse left. I mean, because you already had the accident. You had things that went wrong. But before an accident happens, there are many near misses, and nobody catches that. The cameras, will show it if you know what to look for, but nobody's reporting on that because nothing happened. So everything's fine. So this company, in order to prevent forklift accidents, got proximity sensors on all their forklifts. And they also got vests for the people that are on the floor with the proximity sensor. So if a forklift gets too close to a person, or too close to, like a shelf or something where something could have happened, that gets logged in a database. And then the supervisor was able to review all that data and then work with the forklift operators to give them the proper safety training that they needed. So, just because this example is not making money, maybe it might not be such a popular one. However, it does highlight the fact that there's so much more we can accomplish by leveraging our data the right way. We can actually use it to save lives.
Absolutely, and thank you for bringing this up. Absolutely, because as revenue is important, but what else is important? Safety and training and employee readiness, right? To take, especially when it's risky jobs, for sure, right? We see AI examples popping up here and there, identifying, and then analytics helping to predict the risks, right, and see situation ahead of time. So, Avrohom, when we're looking into technology a little bit in the next 5-10 years, I know we're evolving very fast, but what would you point out? Is it new innovation in AI that will carry us forward? Is it NLP, computer vision? Where do you see the most exciting development will come from?
Yeah, so you asked me two questions, right? You asked me, what will you see in the future? And then you ask me, what are exciting things?
We can combine the two,
yeah,
but
right.
Up to you.
Yeah, exactly. Many times the future is quite boring, and that's fine as well. Leverage, tried and true technology. But what we're starting to see are technology partners, leaders like Dell, IBM, and many others that are leveraging this as a service offering that we've already become familiar with over the last decade or so, and are leveraging that for storage as a service offerings. So we're going to start seeing that. And these storage as a service offerings are going to enable businesses to store data in a way that makes the data more accessible for technologies like AI, and for people that are, skilled in these technologies to then use them and, crunch that data, analyze that data, feed them through that machine learning technology in order to pull out the analytics that will become valuable to them.
You're absolutely right, Avrohom. As you see more and more, and Microsoft, I think, was one of the first to make that push or announcement. In fact, they keep changing the date, but they're kind of forcing everybody to the cloud, right? So we live in because all these apps, and that doesn't matter if you're an enterprise or a person, everything is now subscription-based as a service. It's a game as a service, a storage as a service. It's your food's delivered as a service. It's all about convenience and value, as we talked about.
Yeah. Moving forward, right. It's also very important to choose a technology partner, because that as of service is a subscription based. You don't have to do it all yourself. And that's a very important message because, when thinking about the cloud, many businesses live in a hybrid cloud world where certain workloads, certain activities do live in the data center, but then others are trusted with our technology partners that can help us leverage their infrastructure, their expertise, their security in a way that many of us don't have the resources to do on our own. So it's really very important, when we think about moving forward to the future and moving into this as of service subscription, for things like storage, for things like infrastructure as a service, and so on and so on. To choose that technology partner, that trusted technology partner that has that capability in order to deliver that value that you can then leverage for your business.
Absolutely. Critical point here you're mentioning. Absolutely. Because nobody wants to own on-prem applications anymore, right? Everything in the cloud. Exactly. And at the same time, it really lowering the entry barrier. Don't you think, the cloud services just get tremendous, opportunities in the hands of medium to small companies to take advantage of all that data. So that's definitely exciting.
For sure. And I'll give you another example. And this one I shared in my article, about a company that leverages the cloud, like we're talking about, and does all the right things in order to deliver that value for their clients and beat the competition. So, who hates vacuuming?
Count me in, Avrohom. Count me in.
So we know that you like your air conditioner cold and you don't like vacuuming. Well,
you know everything. Yet there's nothing left. Yep.
The good news is we have AI for that as well. So vacuuming as a service. Nowadays, robot vacuum cleaners are very popular. I've got one. I'm sure many of us have one, right? We're busy people. We don't have time to sit there with the vacuum cleaner. We'd rather do something else and let the vacuum cleaner, clean itself. So there's a robot vacuum cleaner company in Singapore that wanted to do something new. And Irene, you mentioned NLP technology. So we're going to talk about NLP. There's a technology called natural language processing, which is what NLP is. It enables you to communicate with your IoT devices using natural speech. Instead of using, very mechanical terms, you could say, vacuum my house, vacuum the first floor, and something, vacuum the kitchen. And the vacuum cleaner will understand what you want, whether it's speech-based, whether it's text-based. So this company wanted to leverage its NLP technology. People hate apps. So my robot vacuum cleaner I hate their app. Half the time it doesn't work. Half the time I have to click 100 times. It doesn't recognize where I click, and it's very frustrating. This company kind of figured that out and started allowing you to just send a simple text message to your vacuum cleaner. How cool is that? And the nice thing about text interface is that people can text things that don't exist in an app because it's very free form. So within 24 hours of deploying this technology, the company starts logging exception commands, meaning commands that don't exist, such as shut up, turn it off. Well, essentially what was happening was that the phone would ring and people wanted to take a phone call. Well, on my app, I know I hit the pause button and it stops and it's quiet until I turn it back on. But people didn't know how to do that. And, so the machine would just very patiently text back, unknown command, please re-enter. Now you can imagine the frustration level, people just banging their phones and texting all sorts of expletives to this vacuum cleaner. So the company logged that, and the data analyst was actually reviewing these logs and said, these people want a pause function. Well, let's do that. And they got together. Within 40 minutes of analyzing that report, they pushed that command out to the cloud. Pause, turn off, all the variants, including some of the colorful ones, were all enabled in order to accomplish this task. So think about it. Because this company leveraged the right technology, they had the right skills, that knew what to do with this technology, and they had the culture, that progressive culture of thinking outside the box, not just, okay, is the app working? Is it not working? Is the vacuum cleaner cleaning? Is it not cleaning? But the big picture. What are we trying to accomplish? We have a business to run. We need to serve our clients and give them what they want. And by doing that, they were able to deliver a differentiating feature to their product when the competition was clueless that the need even existed. So this really underscores and highlights why it's so important to invest in that right balance in order to be able to completely utilize and leverage your data.
You're absolutely right. I think that's what we need. It's more than just you talked about the progressive culture. When you're in an organization that allows people at every level to be leaders and to think and to collaborate, that's when things happen. But you're absolutely right. You have to start thinking a step or two ahead of what the customer is going to be experiencing as they use some of their products. So I appreciate the share, Avrohom.
Absolutely. Very powerful example. So I'm sure it will stay with our audience. It's definitely affected me because, absolutely. Because those leaders who not only collecting data and complaining about data overload, right? Those who do take action based on that data. And this is fascinating, innovative example of improving your product, improving your service based on feedback that you would never get on survey. You would never get if you've done research like this, right? It will take months and months and months, but just listening to the data that you already own, this is very powerful. Avrohom, thank you. Thank you so very much for this talk today. One short takeaway for the audience from you, because you're full of knowledge and wisdom. So any message out there you want to send out for those who are dealing with data, for those who are struggling with data, and those who want to do better?
Yeah. So I'm very passionate about a topic called diversity and inclusion. I think we kind of belabored, data, AI, technology. We kind of, beat that dead horse, and everybody is, familiar with that topic. We kind of all know what we need to do on that end. But I just want to spend a few minutes talking about the culture and, as my takeaway. So we know there's a statistic out there when it comes to tech fields like cybersecurity. There are 3.5 million unfilled jobs. We just had some pretty hefty ransomware attacks this week on the pipeline, and gas shortages, and $7 a gallon gas in Virginia, and all sorts of ridiculous things going on because of that. But at the same time, we have 3.5 million unfilled jobs. But wait a minute, if you look at the demographics of who currently work in those fields, you'll find that only 25% of the workforce are women. So we really need to take a hard look at who we are hiring, and also we need to leverage people that we have. So in other words, many companies are getting rid of seniors, people that are in their mid 50s, in their 60s, and hiring younger workers because they're cheaper, and maybe because they're educated in the latest technologies. But at the same time, you have people that have been tried and true to your organization, and they know your company. They're the most loyal people you'll ever have, and they're trainable. And if you think about it, there's a cost to upskill. There's a cost to hire people, and there's a cost to upskill. But the cost to upskill is really an investment in your company. So where I'm getting with that is that many times you have the resources on hand to accomplish your goals, to do what you need to do. So you have women that come in for interviews but don't get hired for various reasons. You have technology like AI that are programmed with inherent biases that filter out women, and all that is going to affect you down the road. If you have this AI that is programmed with the bias because you don't have the right staff on hand, you don't have that diverse staff on hand, then your data is going to be skewed, and your results are going to be flawed, and you're going to think that, well, we don't have enough data, going back to the data paradox. But really, it's your culture. It's about how you approach not just your data, but how do you approach your holistic worldview of your business and how you operate. So my takeaway to the audience is that we really need to examine all aspects of our business. Of course, we need to look at the technology. We need to look at our skills, at our resources, how we look at the data, but also from our HR perspective. Who are we hiring? Why are we hiring them? Who can we leverage within our company and maybe upskill them so that we have the people that we need, the people that we trust, in order to be able to get us to that critical point where we are a data champion, and we're leveraging our data to deliver value in the marketplace.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you so much, Avrohom. Fantastic talk today. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Irene and Brian. I really enjoy being on your show.